So since I've been out of school, I've had a lot of extra time to read a lot of extra books. I'm gonna tell you guys which ones those are. This right here. Well, hello you guys, it's Ebony. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you are new here. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Ebony and I make bookish content here on the internet. So over the past 2 months, I've had the opportunity and a lot of extra free time to be able to read more books. And oh my gosh, let me tell you guys, I have been enjoying it so much. It's just been a great time and I'm just glad that I've been able to knock so many books off of my physical TBR because oh my gosh, you guys, I own so many books that I have not read. So many books I have not read. I could do an entire video on all the books that I own that I have not read. It's a little bit of a problem. That's why I'm trying not to buy any books right now because I already have too many that I should read. So last month I did not do a video going over all of the books that I read for the month of April. I think it was a little bit slower of a reading month for me, a little bit. I know I was finishing up finals and stuff like that, so there was a lot of other things that needed to get attended to, so I couldn't get quite as much reading done. But this month, oh baby, let me tell you, now that I've been completely out of school with no other responsibilities except for the job that I work, I have gotten to read so many books and I'm so excited about that. It just makes me so happy. So I think, hold on, let me see. This right here, these are pretty much all of the books that I have read these past 2 months, excluding one audiobook, but I'm counting that as a book that I read because audiobooks are books. You're still getting the entire content and it still takes hours to get through them. I think it actually takes longer to get through an audiobook than it does a physical book, so I'm going to count that on my list, you guys. I think the way that I want to do this is I'm going to start with the books that I read last month. So in the month of April, I read 4 books and I am going to go in the order in which I read these books. And we are starting out strong. In the month of April, we started out real strong, okay? So let me grab that one real quick. The first book I read in the month of April was Every Summer After by Carly Fortune. Now, this was the first book I ever read by her. She has 2 books out now. When I read this book, her second book was not out. I do own her second book, so if that gives you a hint to how I felt about this one, then that gives you a little hint. I ended up giving this book 5 stars. I loved it. I had a great time. So this book follows Persephone and Sam. They used to date back in the day. Stuff happened. They ended up splitting up. And this book has a dual timeline. So it has like the past timeline and then also the present timeline. Every summer, Persephone would go to her parents' lake house, which was right next to Sam's lake house. And so her and the boys kind of got to know each other over the summer. Percy and Sam kind of developed a little bit of a relationship. Every summer they seen each other and then shiz goes down and they end up not being together. Now it's about, what, 10 years later? Sam's brother actually invites Persephone to come back up to the lake house for their mother's funeral. You know, they have to kind of come to terms with the things that happened. So there is one weekend, figure out what the heck these people need to do to be okay. It was just, honestly, it was a really easy read. It wasn't too hard to read. It was very fun. The one trope in it, which I'm not gonna say because I don't want to ruin it, it's kind of a spoiler. The one trope in it, I was kind of like, oh no, sis, why'd you do that? Why did you do that? But at the same time, it's like, we can see why she kind of made that decision that she made when she felt vulnerable and stuff like that. And we understand as humans, things happen. So it was interesting seeing kind of the way she felt about that. I had a very fun time. I love Carly Fortune's writing style. I think it's really easy to read. So if you're looking for a nice, quick summer read, then this book is definitely for you. I would totally recommend you guys pick it up and tell me what your thoughts are if you've read it. Next up on the list, I already have a video about this book, and so that was One of Us is Dead by Geneva Rose. I ended up giving this book 3 stars, okay? People are probably thinking like, Geneva Rose, you gave Geneva Rose's book 3 stars. I did. If you want to know why I did, you can go watch my other video. This book I actually got in a blind date with a book from Barnes & Noble. I think the book was a nice read. It was very playful, but it just wasn't necessarily entirely for me. If you want an easy kind of thriller, then go ahead and pick it up and give it a try, because just because I didn't enjoy something does not mean that you will not enjoy it. If you want to try it, try it. Don't listen to me. Just try it for yourself, see what you think. The next book that I read in the month of April was actually my audiobook, so I guess you could say the book that I listened to in the month of April, and that was She's Gone by David Bell. And I actually gave this book 4 stars. I thought it was really, really good. It's pretty much like, what would you call it, a YA thriller? Would it be a YA thriller, mystery, murder mystery? It pretty much follows our main character Hunter around, and what happened was him and his girlfriend ended up going to the dance together, and on their way home there was an accident that happened. Hunter was found, he wandered and somebody picked him up and took him to a hospital, but his girlfriend was not found. And now everyone in the town is like, where is Chloe? She's gone, she's missing, nobody knows anything. Hunter basically tells everybody that he has amnesia, he can't remember what happened, he doesn't know what's going on, and Hunter claims that he didn't do it. But let me tell you, the whole town in this book is convinced that Hunter did it. And so Hunter kind of spends the whole book trying to prove his innocence. I just thought it was a really nice little thriller. And I will say, the twist was pretty good. I didn't necessarily see the twist coming. I think the twist in this book was better than One of Us is Dead, so if that says anything. But I definitely recommend picking this book up if you want just like a fast-paced thriller, something that's not too hard, something that's not too graphic. It was really good, and I've never read anything by David Bell, so I was thoroughly impressed. I definitely recommend this book to you guys. Definitely give it a try. Tell me what you guys think, okay? The very last book that I read in the month of April was Vicious by V.E. Schwab. Let me tell you guys, oh my goodness, this book was so good. I rated this book 5 out of 5 stars. It was amazing, wonderful, beautiful, perfect. I wouldn't change a dang thing about this book. This book follows Victor and Eli. So these are college students and they're working on like their senior thesis for school. And Eli basically wants to do a thesis on how near-death experiences could possibly give people superpowers. That's the easiest way to put it. This book is dual timeline, so it follows them past and present. So it kind of goes about how they were doing their research, stuff like that. And then also fast forward 10 years later, Victor is breaking out of prison and he basically is spending the entire book trying to seek out Eli. Him and Eli have a little bit of beef. They were friends, they're no longer friends. Victor meets other people along the way that kind of help him in his journey. And overall, I just never thought, I never thought I was gonna like a superhero book. Well, they're not superheroes. Superhero-y, like DC Marvel vibes kind of stuff, okay? Never thought I would like it, never thought that it would interest me like that. Is this considered fantasy or is this considered like sci-fi? Because I'm not sure. Fantasy, okay, so it's considered fantasy. But this book, oh my god, you guys, it was just so good. The writing was so good, all the twists were so good, the characters were wonderful, I loved the world, it was just crazy. This book literally blew my mind. There's no other way to put it. This is a book that I will probably go back and reread in a few months. I have not read Vengeful yet, but I think I was kind of scared that I wouldn't like it as much as the first book. I didn't necessarily want to like compare it to the first book because it was so soon after. In Vengeful, they follow a new character, so there's some new people in it and stuff like that. I just didn't know if I was feeling those vibes yet because I'm very attached to Victor and Eli. But I think what I want to do is give myself a couple months, reread this book, and then read Vengeful. So if you want something out of the realm of what you normally read, a little bit of fantasy, a little bit of superpower, stuff like that, please, you guys, please pick this book up. Give it a try. Tell me what you guys think. Also, on top of that, this was the first book that I read by V.E. Schwab. So I've never read any of her other books. This was the very first one, and my goodness golly, it gave such a good impression, and I love it. Go ahead, pick it up, read it, give it a try. I promise. Oh, well, let me not promise because we all like different things. But I think you guys will really enjoy this. Vicious by V.E. Schwab. Moving into this month, the month of May, I actually did quite a bit of reading. We're gonna say that this month I got through 7 books, which is kind of crazy for me. I never in 1,000 years thought that I would read 7 books in 1 month. They are all pretty good. I don't have huge complaints on any of them, surprisingly. So I'm gonna go ahead and kick us off with the first book that I read in the month of May, and that was Milkfed by Melissa Broder. This book was something different. I don't know what I was expecting going into this, honestly. I just knew that it was kind of woman lovers. It was a whirlwind, let me tell you. I ended up giving this book 4 out of 5 stars, so not a 5-star read, but it was pretty good. Now, people definitely either really love this book or really hate this book. I haven't really seen an in-between. But for me, I actually very much enjoyed it. I think I was able to connect with the character in a lot of ways. So in this book, we follow Rachel, who is 24 years old, and she suffers from an ED. Definitely look up the trigger warnings before you read this book, because there's a good chunk of trigger warnings. Rachel, she is Jewish in this book. She starts going to this little like froyo place That's where she meets Miriam, who is also another Jew. Miriam kind of understands that Rachel is going through like an ED. Rachel looks at Miriam like, oh my gosh, that's not what I want to become, like I'm scared. And that's her ED talking. That's her ED talking. And Miriam kind of looks at her and just kind of wants to help her, I feel like, in this book. And in this book, these two characters, they form like a really, really cute connection and bond. And they become really good friends. And then, you know, editing Ebony here. In these clips, can you guys see how uncomfortable I am? I'm really afraid of like offending people or saying something the wrong way. And I think my thoughts were really jumbled. So I'm going to try to do a better job of explaining it now a little bit quicker. So Miriam is an Orthodox Jew. You know, her family follows the rules. They follow what they're supposed to do, you know, they live by the word. And for Rachel, she doesn't practice her religion on the daily. So that's the difference between those two characters. So when a little bit of a romance forms, we have Miriam on one hand, whose family is very disapproving of something like that. They would not accept that their daughter is gay. And Miriam knows this, knows, you know, what would come along with coming out. And so you get to see her struggle and have this like internal conflict with herself. And so I thought it was really interesting to see that from a different kind of religion's point of view instead of just Christianity, because I feel like that's the one that I've seen it from. But on the other hand, Rachel, because she doesn't necessarily practice on the daily or do all the things she's supposed to do, she can't understand why Miriam is so like put off by this, giving mixed signals. And it's really hard on her because to her, being gay does not matter. If she likes this person, then she's gonna like this person, and that's kind of what she came to terms with. And so we have these two characters, and we have this struggle and this conflict, and it's really interesting to see the way that Melissa Broder puts these all together and gives us such an interesting story and view into sexuality and religion. So very good. I think that's better than what I recorded previously. So I'm gonna go now. I look like a hot mess. Let's not talk about it. But yeah, so enjoy the rest of the video, you guys. So the next book that I read in the month of May was Twisted Love by Anna Huang. I had mixed feelings about this book. I feel like I've been saying this a lot. If the smut in a book overpowers the plot, I'm not gonna enjoy it as much. I definitely think this book was more smut heavy than anything. I enjoyed it to an extent. I ended up giving this book 3 stars. It was not my favorite. A lot of people say that they don't like the first book as much as they do the other books, so I'm not trying to be super harsh about it, but this basically follows Ava and Alex. This, I believe, was like Grumpy Sunshine. This is the only Grumpy Sunshine book I've read lately that I have not enjoyed as much. Ava's brother asks Alex if he can watch his little sister while he goes away, so Alex moves in next door to Ava. And now Alex is a brooding, overprotective mother effer. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, my head is blanking on what I even read in this book. And that goes to show you that I really just didn't have a great time. I know there was some weird twist at the end. I can't even remember what that twist was. My brain is blanking on everything that happened in this book. But I think this book was definitely more smut than anything else. Smut, overpowered plot. That's where it fell flat for me. I'm excited still to give the next book a try because I do own the second book in the series. So I'm definitely gonna give that a try because it's the bodyguard and the princess. I think that plot could be a lot more interesting than this one was. I'm not completely hating on it, but I really wish I liked it more, but I just didn't. If the second book is as forgetful as this book was, then I probably will not continue the series. Gave it 3 stars. It was alright. It was pretty mid. So you guys tell me what you thought. Like I said, with all the other ones, I just kind of want to know y'all's opinions on these books, because I want to see where mine compare. So that was Twisted Love by Anna Huang, and she actually responded to my comment on her Instagram, which was kind of cool. So I'm not bashing you, Anna. I'm just saying that this one was not for me. You write good spice, but I'm not a huge spice girl. The next book that I read this month is like a complete 360 from the other books that I've been reading, but I was so excited to read it. And that was American Psycho by Bret Easton Ellis. Now, I ended up giving this book 4 stars. The only reason I didn't give it 5 stars is because 1, it kind of scares me. 2, you know, being inside of a guy's head and listening to all the clothing that they wear over and over again bored me at times. I will say this book is brilliantly crafted. You have to focus when you read this book. This is not an easy read. This is not a light read. This is not a book that I would recommend to everybody just because it is so freaking graphic. There is a lot of stuff in this book that plenty of people probably do not want to read about. So please, 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 you guys, before you read this book, look at the trigger warnings. There's a lot of disturbing graphic imagery in this book. For me, I'm somebody that watches a lot of true crime and listens to true crime, watches a lot of crime shows. That is why I wanted to pick this book up. I had not watched the movie before I read this. Hi, Salem. Oh, you want to sit in my lap? That's fine, as long as you can be calm. This book was very interesting because inside this man's mind, it almost feels like he does have OCD. It doesn't directly come out and say that he has OCD. It's like the way that he thinks and the way that his brain is wired, it comes across that way. This man is very twisted, you know, he has a very dark mind, and there's not necessarily like a set plot in this book. It's just kind of like you get to be inside this crazy psychopath's mind. I will say this book, you kind of see him escalate, so I feel like it starts more simple, and as the book progresses, it just becomes more frequent and a lot worse, which is what we see with most psychopaths. Is usually it starts smaller, and then as they gain confidence and stuff like that, then their crimes tend to get worse or be more frequent. I think the craziest part about this book is this man is so normal. I feel like if you keep up with anything true crime, this is pretty much what they describe as a psychopath, or a lot of them were like. But the man in this book, he is a very wealthy man. He is put together. He presents himself very well. He blends in with everybody else. I think the craziest thing to me in this book is the fact that this man was very honest with people. He would look at somebody and be like, you know,
I want to cut you into little pieces.
And they'd be like,
Bateman, you're so funny. You got such a knack for humor.
And they would just disregard his crazy statements that he made. And I think they ignored it more so because he just did it so frequently. And like, it's a joke. Like, it's played off as a joke, but he's actually psycho. Like, he's actually crazy. So yeah, this book, very hard to read. Definitely got to pay a lot more attention. Not a book made for everybody. I know this book was hyped up a lot on like TikTok, stuff like that. Like I said, I don't want everybody to read this book because this book really should not be read by everybody. If you have a weak stomach, don't read this book. If you get scared easily, don't read this book. This is not like a lighthearted read at all. It's gonna make you question your own sanity. It makes you question whether or not Bret Easton Ellis is a crazy person or not. This man has a twisted mind if he can write all that stuff. Just saying. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. Like I said, I'm not recommending it to everybody. Do your research, figure out if this is something you could handle or not handle. And then if you have read it, tell me what you guys think. Like I said, I don't think it's like a good book, but I think it is a very intriguing insight into the mind of a psychopath. So yeah, I think you guys are gonna find this really comical, but after reading something so dark and twisty, I had to read something that was a little more lighthearted and fluffy. So the next book that I read in the month of May was Happy Place by Emily Henry. This was the first Emily Henry book that I had ever read, and wee woo, it made such a great impression on me. I ended up giving this book 5 stars. This book was beautiful, amazing. It was written brilliantly. I have an entire video on this book, so if you want to know anything more in depth, go ahead and take a look at that video. I now love Emily Henry. Didn't know that I was going to, but I do. So if you want something light, fluffy, and perfect for the summer, I definitely recommend getting Happy Place, you guys. The next book that I read in the month of May was Flawless by Elsie Silver. So this book follows our main characters, Rhett and Summer. Now, Rhett is a professional bull rider, and Summer works at her dad's agency, and her dad kind of manages all these different like big names. And now Rhett, Mr. Golden Boy, has been getting himself in trouble, getting bad publicity. So one of Summer's first tasks coming out of law school while working for her father is to basically go make sure this man does not embarrass himself anymore. Go make sure he's on his best behavior. Don't let him get into any more trouble. He's already losing sponsors, losing money. We need to straighten this man out. So Summer gets to actually move into Rhett's family home with all of them. Now, Mr. Rhett, professional bull rider, still has to travel, still has to do his thing. So Summer is staying at their home while also going to all of these different bull riding events with Rhett. And throughout the book, you can kind of see them grow closer and a little romance develops. But I think this book was perfect in the sense of like a balance between like plot and smutty stuff. I think Elsie Silver does a really good job of merging the two. It is a small town romance, grumpy sunshine. It was flawless. Oh my god, I loved this one so much. I ended up giving this book 5 stars. The first book I loved so much. I went ahead and ordered the rest of the series and I ended up getting them in not too long ago. So good, you guys. There is a bull riding competition coming to town, I think, was it June 22nd? And by coming to town, I mean, I'd have to drive like 20 minutes, which really is not a lot. Is that embarrassing? I don't know. And I might go. If I go, you guys let me know if you want me to record. If you want a video on that, I might consider making a video on that, okay? I never thought that I was gonna like a country romance book, but I do, and I love all the characters. This book now has a special place in my heart. If you want a cozy small town summer romance, you guys, please pick this one up. Elsie Silver, I love you, girl. You are my new favorite. So go ahead, you guys, give this a try. Tell me what you think. Tell me what your thoughts were. It was beautiful. Loved it. So yeah, that was this one. The next book that I read this month was Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score. Now, this is the first Lucy Score book that I've read. I'm gonna give it 4 stars instead of 5 because there were just some areas in the book where I was like, why are we doing that? Like, do we need to put smut right there? Because it really doesn't make sense. Some things in here were just a little whack-a-diddly-do. No woman would actually want that to be like that. No. I'm really struggling between the 3.5 and the 4 stars, but I think I'm gonna say 4. This book follows Naomi. Naomi is a runaway bride. She ran away from her wedding and her fiance, and she ended up going to Knock 'em Out, which is a nice little small town. Her twin sister Tina wanted to meet up with her. Well, she gets to this town. Her evil twin sister does not actually show up to see her, ends up breaking into her stuff and like disappearing. Now, her twin sister Tina leaves her daughter there. Now, Naomi didn't know that Tina even had a daughter, so this is a surprise to her. This is the first time even knowing she has a niece, meeting a niece, and she kind of has to take on the role of being mom now, even though she's not mom. So she has to figure out, like, I don't have anywhere to go, I don't have any place to live, I don't have a job, I don't have anything. But now I have this child that I have to take care of. And this is where we enter Knox. Good old bad boy Knox. And basically he helps them get off their feet and kind of find a place to stay, you know, kind of get a little bit settled and knock them out, even though like that's not typically what he would do. So throughout the book, Knox is being very helpful, stuff like that. And obviously a romance grows. And then at the end of the book, this is what I didn't get, is like the end of the book was kind of like whack-a-dilly-do. There is like a weird twist or a kind of a twist. And I will say, I think it was a little predictable. Like, I think I understood or I seen it coming. I think it was an okay read. I don't think it was too bad. Like I said, I feel like I'm leaning more towards 3.5 than 4 stars. So maybe I should just say 3.5 on here because I think 4 stars is saying too much because there's other books that I rated 4 stars that I like better than this. But it's not really a hard read. It's a pretty easy read. I know a lot of people really like this book, so I'm not trying to bash it at all because I still did have a good time. I still enjoyed it. But yeah. I would say definitely give it a try if you are a romance girly. Like I said, I don't read a lot of romance because I don't like super duper cheesy things. Read it and then you'll find out for yourself. So that pretty much covers all the books that I have finished. Like today is the 31st, but it's the middle of the day. Now I am currently reading the second book in the Chestnut Spring series. And I believe I'm gonna finish this tonight. I am recording a video on this, so I'm doing like a little reading vlog. So stay posted, stay tuned, that will be up soon. But I'm just gonna count it in this month because I'm gonna finish this book up tonight. I don't have a rating for it yet because I'm not finished with it. So this one actually follows Cade and Summer's best friend Willa. Summer basically invites Willa to like come get this job as a nanny. She's like,
Hey Willa, like I know somebody who needs a nanny for the summer, like you should totally come do this. And Willa's like, okay, yeah, I'll do that.
and she ends up being the nanny for Cade, and she takes care of Luke in this book. Obviously, Willa and Cade are gonna have a little romance, and my favorite thing about this book so far is the fact that he calls her Red because she's a ginger, and I just am like, oh my god, somebody call me Red. Please. I'm obsessed. That's what I'm reading. This is definitely on the way to becoming a 5-star read. So that's like how many books? That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that is 10 books that I read these past 2 months, 11 if you count Heartless. I'm very proud of myself. That is pretty much it for today, you guys. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to hit that thumbs up button. That helps the channel and also helps other people find our little corner of booktube on the internet. Also, if you want to see more content from me, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And if you want to be notified every single time that I post, you can hit the little notification bell and it'll remind you. But yeah, I had so much fun, you guys. This has been a great 2 months worth of reading for me. I am on a kick. I don't know what I'm gonna read next. And that pretty much wraps it up. I hope you guys have a beautiful, wonderful, and amazing rest of your morning, day, or evening, wherever you may be. And I hope to catch you guys in the next one. Bye! What am I gonna read next?